All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Word with Ty Brownlow. I am your host, Ty Brownlow, and remember, no one is worthless. No story is worthless. Today, ladies and gentlemen, I have a very, very special guest for you. I'm going to give you a couple of words about my guest. Influence, connected, hometown, creative, all the way from the lovely, lovely Windy City of Chicago, Illinois. Please put your hands together for Mr. Micheal Pellegrino.
All right. Thank you, Ty, for having me. I'm a big fan of yours.
Well, I appreciate it. I'm a big fan of yours because we're going to talk about like who you are and why we're here. Okay. First and foremost, let me just give my listeners, a little background on who you are. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you've ever heard the phrase, hey, this is the guy to know, or, I know a guy that knows a guy that can do this or whatever, this will be that time. So let me just tell you who Mr. Pellegrino is, okay? Entertainment industry powerhouse agent, okay? I'm gonna say it one more time. Entertainment industry powerhouse agent, okay? Also a member of the Writers Guild of America. So we're going to talk about, the creative sides as well. But first and foremost, hometown, Chicagoan.
Chicago all the way, baby.
All right, come on now. Tell us about growing up here in the lovely Windy City and how that inspired, your move into the entertainment industry.
Well, first of all, I grew up probably in one of the roughest neighborhoods in Chicago, sadly, the Austin district, which is North Avenue in Austin.
Mm-hmm.
Back when I lived in North Avenue in Austin, I lived on a street called Mason, and it was a tough neighborhood. Humboldt Park, which a lot of people that are watching right now are probably not familiar with, but Humboldt Park was not exactly a park that you wanted to play in. There was a lot of unfortunate gang violence, but growing up there, I think you become part of the community and you're accepted. Guys that people would probably be petrified to walk on the same side of the street with were my friends. I grew up with them. It was the norm for me. And it's not the norm today, but it definitely, as you said in the very beginning, it influenced me. I definitely was a problem child when I grew up. I had my little run-ins and stuff like that with the law, and I was the guy that went to the picture show and rooted for the bad guy. That was my MO. But as I started to progress and start to realize what was going around my surroundings, I changed and I started to feel that maybe I could do something in life that can help others find their way. Because I got lost for a while and I found my way. And anything that I have or created, I've done it the hard way. There's nobody given me anything, but I think one of the most important things that I want for anybody to walk away with today is that anything is possible in life. There's nothing that you can't do. When somebody tells you no, I don't have that word in my vocabulary. That word's been erased. It doesn't exist. And the reason it doesn't exist is because when people tell you no, that's their opinion and they're entitled to it. But they are not the master of my destination, of where I'm going. I am. I decide what's going to happen. And I'm a very, very persistent individual who decided to make a difference in my own way and do things my own way. And I started to get into the entertainment industry when I was very young. I think one of the first things I ever did was the Marva Collins story.
Yes, you did.
The late Cicely Tyson. Phenomenal. I probably ended up on the cutting floor somewhere, I think. But I got to work with, the late John Belushi. It was a magical time for me when I was younger. And as I got older, I started to realize that I have a responsibility to try to do right for me. You got to always do right by yourself first. And the reason that I say that, it's not being selfish. If you don't take care of yourself and do right by you and make yourself in a good position, then you can't help others.
It's true.
Once you're solidified and you're grounded, it's easy to help others. It's gratifying, but you gotta get yourself to that spot where you're able to do that. And that's how I did it. And I grew up, like I said, I used to walk through Cabrini Green. I used to walk, I used to hang out at a place called Red's Barbershop with the guy who some people may love, they may hate him, who cares? They called him the preacher. And, everybody knew the preacher and, AKA the bishop. And I knew him. He was a friend. What he did in life was not the greatest thing, but it was the norm for me. And I grew up really not being afraid of too much. And I think that's what kind of gave me the survival skills, if you will, because Hollywood's brutal. Hollywood's, if you think Chicago stuff, man.
Hollywood is something, yes, I can imagine. And you know what? And we're going to talk about this a little bit more too, because I'm very excited to have this conversation with you, because you're like an insider, but you're like background and your roots, Yeah, I may be in Hollywood on business, but my roots are here in Chicago, and this is what it is. This is what I'm founded in. So, let me just say, and I don't really want to put like age out there, so I'm just gonna mark terms. But like in the 90s, I know the area that you speak of, especially in like the late 80s, early 90s, just how life was and how things were. I had relatives in that area of town. So, let's just keep it real, man. To be like a white guy over there in that area trying to survive, trying to go through, as you said, Cabrini at that time, when the, buildings were up and what have you, and hanging out in places. And as some people will say, unsavory characters, but at the end of the day, they're people, you have to look at the human side of things instead of looking at the judgmental scope of things. You have to look at the human side of things. And, at the end of the day, everyone's human. So you have to look at that side.
And I think that's a great point, because I feel that there's a lot of things that I love our city. And there's a reason that we moved everything out of LA and came back to Chicago. It's the most beautiful city in the world. Architecturally, I think Nobody beats it.
Oh no.
And I love New York. I love New York.
Yeah.
But Chicago is number one.
Oh, damn. Oh.
And unfortunately, some people are sadly, they're not bad people. They're a product of their environment. They don't know any different than what they have been taught or have been surrounded by. So how can you judge somebody that makes a mistake, that doesn't know any better? This is how they were raised. So who am I to judge anybody? Everybody deserves a second chance in life. And I mean, there's a few people in life that categories that they're wired wrong and they never get fixed. But, you know, beyond that, you make a mistake, you make a mistake. Learn, as long as you learn by it.
That's the key. That's the key.
Yeah, you gotta learn.
Yeah.
I'm non-judgmental. I don't, if somebody came down and sat next to me and wants to do something and said, hey, you know, and it's happened, I just did 30 years in the penitentiary. Okay. Well, tell me your story. Let's talk. I'm not gonna get up and walk out the room and be like, oh God, I don't want to do business with this guy.
Right.
I want to do business with that guy because he's got stories that they're real. It's organic. It's authentic. That's what sells.
Okay. You know what? Well, I'm going to table that for later on in the conversation, but I'm worried, man, like I really want to talk to you later about influence. In this day and age, influencers are big because everybody's looking at numbers. I know you know that as an agent. Sometimes when you go in to pitch these people, the first thing they want to know is how many numbers, okay? So what is this on social media, this, that, or what have you? I want to talk about that versus what you just talked about being like the organic story and what can really be, substance and content, you know, instead of like, okay, let's just get this person on here to put their face on here to promote whatever, you know, hit or miss to promote whatever. So we're going to talk about that in a minute. But I want to talk about something, even though you just said, you know, a couple of things about Chicago and, you know, man, of course, most beautiful city in the world, the architecture, hands down, like it's just hands down. Sorry, San Francisco, you can create all that all you want. Chicago is where it's at. I'm just telling you all. Sorry.
Trust me, I know all about it, Ty.
So I want to talk to you about your series 312. And I know I was reading an article where, you know, you were talking about Dick Wolf and how his series, you know, with the Law and Order, what have you, he's like spun it off into like all these other different areas of the show. But your series 312 and how you have, you know, the, you know, same vision to, you know, not only here 312, New York and LA or what have you. So can you just talk about like that influence? Well, Dick Wolf's influence second, but first, just the show 312. And you know, for those who are not familiar with it, can you just give them like a brief like synopsis of like what the show's about?
Absolutely. 312 obviously is named after the area code of Chicago. It's a TV series. It's an hour-long drama. It's about two families, and they are embedded in an unfortunate situation because they live in the world of violence where they're at. And they're not violent people. They're just, unfortunately, that's where they grew up at. The neighborhood changed into violence, and both of the families want their younger children to stay away from the gangs. The gangs are trying to influence the younger generation to pull them in. And then you have what we call the OGs, the original gangsters, the guys that are out there that are now they're saying, hey, this violence has got to stop. And 312 is not a show that's highlighting and putting a black eye on Chicago. What we want to do is to, oh my gosh, I apologize.
All right.
But by the way, that is a very interesting man that's calling me. Mark Koch, great guy. We did Lost in Space together. 312 is a show that we want to highlight what's happening in Chicago right now. Because right now we're in the capital of violence, and it's just a fact. And if you want to sit and turn your head or your back against it, that's great. You're naive if you are. And there's a lot of politicians that they may be like, oh my God, this guy. Listen, the only way to solve a problem in life is to start conversation. And the only way to start conversation is to stir up the pot. And somebody's got to stir up the pot. And that's what we're doing. We are going to highlight the good and the bad. There's phenomenal police officers in Chicago. I respect them immensely. And then you have a few bad apples. And then you have a group of people that live in what some think are the most horrific, horrible neighborhoods in the world, but they have no clue that at 5 o'clock they're having dinner just like you and I, and they're working with their children to do schoolwork, and they're living a normal life. They're not out there gang banging. They're not out there trying to sell drugs. They live a good life. They're just stuck in a situation where they don't know how to get out. And we want to highlight that. And what happens is, throughout the system, politics gets in the way, because and you know this more than anybody, Ty, because we're Chicago boys.
Yes.
You know, the Illinois lottery was designed to help the Illinois school system.
Yeah.
I love to know where all that money's at, to be quite frank with you. And I'm getting bold right now, and I know I'm not making friends.
Oh no, you're not making friends, but that's okay. You're telling the truth.
I'm being as transparent as I can.
That's okay.
We're always looking for money, and schools get closed, and by closing those schools, gangs get married into each other, and violence starts to erupt. And we want to show also the background of how did those school closings happen? How come, where's the money going? You know, why are the politicians not addressing the hardcore issues of, you know, you can't sit down and talk with gangs and make peace. You have to find a resolution that's going to work, you know, and kind of bring harmony to everybody slowly. And I'm not going to digress, but prison reform is one of them. And it's a very big issue with me.
Yes, I know you're real big on that. Let's talk about that.
I'm very big on that, and I'll tell you why. The recidivism rate, and we're going to just take for the state of Illinois, for a state penitentiary, for a gentleman that, let's just say he steals a car or whatever, the recidivism rate, meaning he's going to be coming back to that penitentiary, in the state of Illinois is over 85%. And the reason is the prison system, it incarcerates, it doesn't rehabilitate.
That's true.
They don't give you a GED, they don't give you nothing. They give you 3 meals, a pair of clothes, and when your time's up, They kick your butt out. I was gonna say another word, but I'll keep it clean. They keep you out, and they drop you off in the middle of nowhere, man. I mean, literally, like the ghetto of crack central. And they expect this individual to become a better human being. How did you fix this individual? Now you look at the federal system, and the recidivism rate is under 10%. Why? Because the federal system, when you have 6 months left on your sentence, they send you to a halfway house. They require you to get a job. They require you to have an automobile, transportation, housing, a bank account. They literally set you up in a position for success, where the state system sets you up in a position automatically for failure. And that's a progressive circle. There is no end of what's happening. That individual is constantly going to be a rotating door, in and out, because nobody wants to help. Nobody wants to admit it's broken. And a guy that does get caught stealing a car, okay, he gets 2 years. What do? Let's fix him. Let's help him. Let's get him a GED if he doesn't have one.
Yeah.
Let's implement a system for the schools. I know I did it. I implemented a system in the state of Nevada. I started the first school system for inmates to get a GED. I was the first person to ever start a job fair for corporations to come to prisons before guys started that were going to get paroled, that they could obtain a job. So when they get out, they have one. And during their incarceration, I would go every single day to teach classes. I would teach simple life skills. There are so many individuals that don't even know how to write a check. They don't even know what a checkbook is. They're smart. Don't get me wrong.
No, I know.
Individuals are smart. They're street smart. But somebody has to guide them into the world of how do you get a little bit of book smart? How do you get yourself into a situation where you can support yourself without getting yourself back into trouble again? And the only way of doing that is to educate people and to get them a job to help them support themselves. In Chicago, oddly enough, I say it to everybody, everybody deserves a second chance. Chicago has a program, and it's called Second Chance. And there is a gentleman, his name escapes me, so I do deeply apologize to him for not remembering his name. But he did approximately 15 years, got out, and got a job with CTA, making a decent dollar. That gentleman today is one of the heads of CTA, making over 6 figures. Now, people can change, but you have to start somewhere. And I'm not going to give up. I'm going to keep fighting for everybody out there that nobody's fighting for. And love me, hate me, whatever. You're going to respect what I have to say, and you're going to hear what I have to say. And people that don't like me is because they don't like what I'm saying, because it's the truth.
And that's what it is at the end of the day. Which, I mean, look, I'm just going to keep it real, Michael. Like, I'm glad you're on this platform, and I'm glad you're saying what you're saying, because I like to talk about conversations that we're not having that we need to have. And as you're talking about prison reform on the state level, like, how are we setting them up for, progression? Right. Like, we're setting them up to bring them back. So, like, either that or they're just going to die out here on the streets. But there's not going to be any type of progression, because we don't want you to have anything. So, as you said, no GED, no learning,
no skills or, trades or whatever. You're just expected to do your time. Once you're done doing your time, we're going to kick you out and now go be a good person.
Not going to happen.
Really? I'm going to go back to doing what I know. I mean, it's like primal, pretty much in a sense.
It's survival.
Yeah. I mean, hey, that's what it is. But this is a very interesting series. This 312 series is very interesting. How can people, if people want to get more of this, how can people watch and get more of it?
Well, we're literally, as my phone was ringing, Mark Cook, some people call him Mark Koch. I did Lost in Space with him, was my first movie back in the 90s with Matt LeBlanc.
Okay. All right. Danger. Will Robinson, Danger. Okay. All right.
Love Matt. Matt's awesome.
Okay.
Mark was just here last week, and he left the industry. He did The Passion of Christ. He's done... Yeah, Mel's movie never would have happened if it wasn't for Mark.
Really not. See, connections, people.
Absolutely. It never would have happened because Hollywood did not want Passion to happen because
I heard,
of religious conflicts. And Mel wrote out a check for $30 million and said, you know what? I'll fund it myself. But now he has a problem. How do I get distribution? And Mark left the industry, became very, very, he's a Christian, he's very, has a very big following, and he started to do grassroots marketing for The Passion. And he was filling up, churches that were holding 20,000 people. And before you know it, it organically became a world-class hit. And when I showed Mark the trailer of 312, I was nervous because it's violent. It's a little graphic in some ways.
Okay.
And he sat at this conference table and he was, this has to be done. I love it. And I'm like, why? He goes, I'll tell you why. You're not highlighting violence. You are showing people the truth, and you are trying to fix it. You're trying to start dialogue. He goes, and this show is going to be a gigantic success. He goes, and commercially, you're right. It's I'm a big fan of Dick Wolf. I think he is an Einstein. What he has done is incredible. He's turned one show into a massive franchise, and they're all very successful. Dick didn't want to do 312 because he highlights very, very, very positive messages of first responders. And I get that. And I'm not offended at all. Hey, that's his niche.
Okay.
But
yes,
I want to highlight the first responders as well. But sadly, I want to address every issue. And that means if I got to flush out some of the politicians, if I got to flush out, get some of the gang members to start thinking about stuff, then so be it.
Mike Pellegrino, he's stepping on toes now. I mean, this is, hey, look here. These are murky waters, man. Okay?
But why not? It's got to get, who's good, that right there though, Ty, is the attitude that politicians take. Oh, it's murky water.
Yeah.
Oh, you're stepping on toes. Yes, you're damn right. I'm not going to just step on them. I'm going to stomp on them.
See?
That's what I'm going to do. I want this city to grow, to be even more beautiful and more safer.
Yes.
And I want the people that don't want a negative life to realize, hey, I changed my life and made it successful. Trust me, you could do the same thing. You just need guidance. And I got news for you. I'm here. My door is open. I'll walk you through the process. I can't make you successful unless you want to be. But if you want to be successful, I'll give you the recipe. I'll show you how to do it. And then the rest is up to you. You know, we have a show that Ice and I put together with the iconic CJ Mack, old school rapper.
Okay.
And it's called American Hustler. And American Hustler is not, it sounds negative, but if you face it, what do you do every day in the morning? You hustle, you grind, you do your show, you do your living.
Yeah.
And if you want to make it in this world, you got to be a hustler. You got to get up and you got to hustle. And the show is a mentor show. It's about following the recipe of iced tea, the 5 recipes. And we had it sold to CNBC. It was ready to go for a pilot and then to get picked up. The production company that we were co-producing with got bought out through a Canadian company.
Oh.
And the brakes got put on it. We backed out at the end of the contract and said, it's not going to be done this way, because the show was gritty. It was dark. It showed real people that want to become something. And it follows them, you know, through an 8-month period. And they were picking white suburban family of, you know, 3.2 kids and this and that. And I'm like, that's not the show.
Right. Okay. So look, now I just finished talking about creative control not too long ago on the show. Now, as we said, we pitched the show to CNBC. All right, 8 episodes.
Ate it up.
Huh?
They ate it up.
Right. They ate it up. They loved it. But then when we go and we want to produce it, now you're going to put okay, this is what we're trying to highlight, but you want to highlight this. No, that's not the purpose of the show. And I think sometimes, you know, that's also the message that gets twisted because, as I said before, numbers driven. We're trying to drive numbers. Yeah, this is genius concept. Michael, this is genius. You've done it again. But we want to highlight this side instead of what you originally bought. It's a little too rough around the edges, but that's what it's supposed to be, you know, because hustle isn't pretty. Hustle isn't, you know, fabulous.
And I want to emphasize something because I don't want somebody to get a black eye. CNBC was on board. I had, sadly, back surgery and some other health issues. And during the merger of these 2 production companies that were co-producing, the Canadian company had the majority. They brought in a new development team. My whole development team went right out the door. They packed up their boxes. The old Hollywood thing, and it was a sad joke because I always used to tell one of my colleagues that when the merger happened, I'm like, be careful, one day you're gonna find your box by the door. And he just laughed. And I felt horrible when the day I got the phone call, he's like, yeah, I'm out.
Yeah.
He's like, you're stuck with the new development team. So I got a call a couple months later from the president of CNBC. And he's like, Michael, what is this that you guys shot? I go, I wasn't there for the shoot and I didn't do the casting. He goes, this is not what we bought. This is not what iced tea is giving us. I go, you're right. I just looked at it. I go, it's horrible. He He goes, get involved, reshoot it, or we're not going to go forward. So when I got on the phone with the development team, you know, Ice wasn't happy. I was not happy. I told him, I says, look, you guys, you're not getting the concept of the show. We had it perfect, and now you're changing it. I go, it is a mentor show. I go, but it's a I go, you know, the old days of reality TV, the neck twisting, rubbernecking, we call it, that's gone. That's out the door. Shows now are like The Prophet, Shark Tank. Yeah. People want to see a happy ending and resolution to things. And American Hustler brought that. And everybody won. There was no losers. There was just one individual who really knocked it out of the park and met the ultimate goal of what they wanted to be. And it wasn't just entertainment. If you wanted to be a great chef, we would hook you up with one of the world's renowned chefs, and he would mentor you over the next 8 months to get you to where you wanted to be. It went across the landscape of all genres, not just entertainment. But they lost it. They lost it by making it so stale, so predictable. We pulled, and we're going to redo it. We're going to relaunch it. We're not done. Okay. We don't accept no. And, you know, Ice, you know, it was his baby, and CJ Mack, they brought it. I put the whole package together. I put the one sheet together in one day. We were having dinner. The next day I went to Law and Order on the set and showed Ice the one sheet. He's like, you did this overnight? I says, yeah. He's like, I love it. He goes, this is what I'm talking about. I go, let's go do it.
So let me talk about your relationship with Ice-T. Like, how did you meet Ice-T? If you don't, I mean, I know it's probably like a great grand story, but like, you know,
short version.
Yes, the short version. If you can give me that, but I'm very interested. I'm very interested to know, how did you meet Ice-T?
Short version is I met Ice through a mutual friend, and I am so sad that she actually passed away about 20 days ago at a very, very, very young age. But she had a heart of gold. Her name was Stacy Lindy. She was a wonderful person, and she introduced me to Ice. I wasn't out to get Ice as a client. I already knew his reputation. He was with another agency, and he ended up suing them because they were taking money. He never even met his agent. We just went out to dinner. And as we started to talk, Ice is like, let me have your phone number. You want to do something together? I'm like, sure. He goes, you know, I don't like agents. They're assholes. I go, most of us are. He says, that's true. He goes, but there's something different about you. He goes, I don't know. He goes, you're like Tony Soprano meets, he goes, Hollywood. He goes, and I dig that, man. He goes, I just dig it. And I'm like, thank you. We exchanged phone numbers, and literally he's been my client from that day on. I went into the dressing room. I'll tell you a super short comical story because it freaked me out. I walked in, beautiful dressing room. I'm on the set of Law and Order Special Victims, and Coco was taking one of their dogs, and it looked like she was throwing the dog out the window.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, oh my God. And then, you know, Ice starts laughing. He's like, there's a walkway and it's the rooftop. He goes, they fixed it for the dogs. I'm like, so I run to the window, and the dog's out there doing his business. I'm like, Coco looking at me. She's like, did you think I was throwing the dog out? I'm like, yeah. I go, I don't know what's happening. I go, we're 2 floors up. I says, you have the dog. You're like just tossing him out the window. I go,
what am I supposed to think?
I go, I've seen it a lot happen in Chicago. What do you expect?
Right. Like, hey, it's right. Now, see, that's what I'm saying. Stuff that maybe, like, look, why would I do that? But hey, I'm from here. I've seen things happen. People do things. So, no.
And it's true. So I literally, Ice, he made a deal with me. He's like, so to get into my camp, he goes, I got a tight camp. I got certain rules. And, bring me stuff that's me. I go, I got it. So people pitch me, I probably get 6, 7, 8 emails a day about, we want iced tea, we want this, we want that. Ice has his own recipe of doing things, his own way. And when I call him, he knows I'm calling, first of all, with money, or I'm calling to see how things are. He's not a big talker on the phone. Right. He text messages a lot, but he's on the set so much. Plus he's doing voiceover for Ice Cold Blood. Then we had The Mediator, we did 100 episodes. Plus he's got body count. The man is a workaholic.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
He can't sit still. Yeah. And his work ethic is, my gosh, it's what everybody should be like if they want to be successful. That's why he is successful, because he is very disciplined and he's a phenomenal friend and he's genuine. People have a misconception if they think that he's this gangster rapper, whatever.
Because that's how the media is portray it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Ice had a past. He almost went to prison for robbing a bank. He was going to rob a bank. Changed his life. Fact, a lot of people don't realize about Ice-T. He was an Army Ranger. He was in the military for 4 years. He served this country.
Really?
Yeah. Ice did it. Nobody knows that.
That's a very interesting fact. Okay, all right. Look here. Only on Word with Ty Brownlow will you get these nuggets about Ice-T. For real. Hey, look here. I didn't know that. Now, you know what? That's some...
I know the secrets. No.
Well, you know a lot of secrets. So, but I find that fascinating. And I know you, I saw a picture. And the picture was, and I know who these people are. So when I say these names, people are gonna be like, who? But if you're 40 and up, then you probably know who some of these people are. But I seen a picture of you with Jermaine Jackson, Marlon Jackson, Bill Duke, Pia Sedora.
Oh yeah.
And oh God, somebody else is escaping me right now. But I seen this picture. And
Jermaine was there. It was Jermaine, Marlon, Pia, Bill Duke.
There was quite a few people in this table.
There was a little dinner I did, for, I had so many clients that I did it every couple months when I came into the town. I would go to this one place we all loved and have a party. And by the way, if I would just want to throw my well wishes out to Marlon. I just got a message about 15 minutes ago. He had a heart attack. He's doing good.
Okay. All right.
But my
well wishes, speedy recoveries.
Yeah. Marlon's phenomenal. The whole Jackson family is phenomenal. They've done some tremendous things with my foundation for a gift from the Hearts for Down syndrome. And Catherine is phenomenal. But I love my clients. I keep it intimate.
Yes.
You know, Tretch, I don't know if Tretch was there or not. Maybe, I don't know.
I've seen a picture of you and Tretch. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, we talk. Me and Tretch, we talk all the time.
That's.
He's awesome.
But you know, like that's so okay. To hear your story of how you came up, you know, like I totally understand. But when you sit back and you just look at it from like an outside view, especially for those who are not from, you know, any of those areas, or those who have no idea as to what we're speaking from, you know, Chicago, based off what they see on TV or what they hear on the news or what have you.
Right.
We're talking about a totally different side of town than what you all hear every single day, you know. So usually you hear about the south side of Chicago, but we're talking about the Austin area. When, I mean, technically, if you really want to do the numbers, way more like frightening and deadlier than, you know, the south side of Chicago. And there's actually one block of Austin where I've read that, you know, I can't even tell you how many, like, you know, unfortunate events has happened on this one block, you know, like I want to say it's in the thousands where, you know, a lot of people have met their fate. So
it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, I mean, it's very heartbreaking. So for you to have a show like 312 and to, you know, produce that, but to show the real, and then also follow that up with like American Hustle, with like, you know, Ice, but, you know, you're really showing like the, you know, real grit and grind of like, hey, this is what I want to do. Okay, well, this is what you want to do. We're going to put you here. And I mean, but that's real and that's genuine. So,
and I'll have like, Tretch is going to be starring in 312.
Okay.
Ice is going to be producing with me.
Okay.
Pictures with Mark Koch is going to be producing. It's a star-studded cast, but we're going to also bring in a lot of locals because we want authenticity. We want real, genuine people to portray what it is that's happening in our streets. And we're going to lobby for change until change happens.
Well, I mean, you know, it's you're just taking the cover off of what's a bad spot and, you know, what's been trying, well, in so many ways has been tried to be glazed over almost in a sense, because let's just keep it real, you know. We're like coming up, well, the summertime is pretty much here. We're coming out of the pandemic. The city's going to open up pretty soon. And we're talking about tourist dollars, you know, in one of the most, well, I'm not going to really say economically strapped, but there was a pandemic last year. A lot of people like lost their jobs or what have you, unfortunately, but we're coming out of that. And with, you know, the image that, you know, people want to portray, hey, you know, come here, even though it is beautiful, very beautiful, one of the most beautiful cities in the world, okay? Seriously, it's the gateway to wherever else you want to go. Chicago is.
It is.
Go anywhere. That's a national fact, all right? Seriously. I've worked in tourism, so I've heard the story plenty of times. But I just love the fact that you're really like, look, you all may see this, but dive in a little bit deeper. Let's dive in a little bit deeper. Let's talk about what's not being talked about. You know, let me show you what's not being talked about.
And that's really important to me, because people hear about shootings every day.
Yeah.
But here's what you don't hear about. The person that did the shooting, that person's a victim in its own right, because that person has to live with what they did if they have a conscience.
Mm-hmm.
The person the family that lost a child, the mother, the father, the uncles, brothers, sisters, there's loss way beyond the headline that there was a shooting on 63rd in Indiana, whatever.
That's real.
There's loss.
Mm-hmm.
And I want people to understand that it goes deeper than just two gang members fighting for a corner.
Yeah.
There's human beings attached to it. There's children that are being shot, caught in the crosshairs. And those mothers and fathers are gonna feel way, way more than you could possibly even imagine unless you've experienced. And we want to highlight that because that's going to bring more attention to the show. But I also want to bring attention to how beautiful Chicago is and how we can make it better. I think overall it's going to be a long-running positive series, knock on whatever this is.
Well, look here, I'm going to say this. Reading your resume and certain stuff I didn't even get into, like Relentless Entertainment and, just some of your A-list clients, and other things, I know is going to be a success because A, it's real, it's genuine, it has a story. Anything with a story is always gold. Okay, I'm not even in Hollywood, but I know that anything with a story is always gold.
Yep.
So I want to talk about, I want to like transition a little bit, but I want to talk about this platform before we get out of here. I want to talk about, you have something launching on the 30th of June. It's called the Author's World. And I guess it's a combination of Facebook, TikTok, Amazon, all in one or what have you. Let's talk about this. Like, what is this and what can we expect?
I think we can expect a game changer in the literary world. I have been working on this project. I don't even want to tell you for how long.
Wow.
I have made so many mistakes with getting the wrong people to work with coding. It took forever to find the right group of people that got it. And the premise of what we start off with the podcast, by the way, but we won't compete with you. Different format. But it's the whole dynamic of the literary world has changed because, not just because of the pandemic, but streaming. The way that we watch TV and films nowadays. I mean, if you really think about it, tell me where you could go buy a book if it's not online. There's really no bookstores no more. It's not. It's gone.
Amazon.
It is.
Yeah.
And hey, everybody needs competition. There's a lot of book clubs out there, but I wanted to build something different. I wanted to build a social site where you and I could become friends, but the common denominator was going to be books. And I wanted the opportunity for, hey, hi, it's Michael, how are you doing? Have you read this book? And get the opportunity, weekly to have a discussion on a podcast with authors all across the world that have books coming out, and give publishers a new platform to get their books and their writers, their authors out there. But we also want to take the reader and give them the opportunity to have interaction with the author again, like we're doing right now. So you would literally be able, Stephen King is going to be sitting here and you're going to be able to ask, talk all about his new project, what motivated him, what happened, and then there's going to be a Q&A, and you'll be able to, send in your questions. We'll feed them to the guest, and it's like having a meet and greet, but it's going to be obviously, now through a different platform, which is streaming.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, the social end of it is, I think Facebook is a tremendous, wonderful tool. I think it was brilliantly built, but I think that, there's not one steakhouse in Chicago. There's hundreds.
That's
We
true.
all have our favorite.
That's
And
true.
I wanted to build something that wasn't about just anything. It was about something, and it's about books. And I think that we lost that love for the written word through TV, through media. And I want to bring back, I think that children
Mm-hmm.
as well, there's a children's division, need a platform that's safe, a safe environment to go online, to be able to look at books, to purchase books. There's a book club where, every month the parents could join up. 3 books will be sent to the children. They read it. We want to bring a whole new dynamic to the literary world, and that's through a social platform. And then there's a whole subscription side where authors, that whether you are a world-renowned author or it's your very first book and you self-published, how do you get it out? Come to the author's world, and we will help you market your book and get it out there to the public and start conversation about it. I mean, people may love it, they may hate it, but they'll have the opportunity to discuss it. And I think, once again, dialogue. Dialogue to me is very important. And I feel that was missing in the literary world for a long time when bookstores started to close. We kind of lost the opportunity of going to get our cup of coffee and sit down and read a book, at Borders or Barnes and Noble. And now you're going to be able to do that through, it's going to be through electronic streaming, but it's still going to be there. And it's going to be a really cool platform. It's going to be hip. It's not going to be stale. We're not going to hold back. ICE is one of my first guests. We're going to be controversial. We're not going to be just, dull. We're going to just put it out there.
I like it. I like it. Push the envelope, man. Push it.
Yes. If you don't push it, where are you going?
Well, okay. So let's just keep it simple. You've been in the industry a while, a long time. Okay, I'm not even going to say a while, a long time. And you have 30 plus years, okay? And your client list range from everywhere from entertainment, in like wrestling with, the late great Hulk Hogan, but his daughter as well, Brooke. I believe Brooke is still wrestling. If she's not, she's doing some other stuff as well.
Brooke sings and stuff. She's a wonderful individual, great person.
Right. So, man, but from there to Ice-T to Marlon and Jermaine Jackson, man, you even have people from the Temptations, So
Larry Braggs, don't forget about Larry
Braggs. So, I didn't even, there's others. These are just like a few of the people that I'm mentioning. So, but I'm just saying, you've been in these rooms with these people. These are heavyweights. These are powerful people. And not only are you in a room with these people, because I've heard this. It's one thing to be in a room with these people, but it's another thing to be in a room with these people and actually be heard. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can work my way into the room. Hey, you know what? Mike invited me here, so I'm here. Okay, I'm in the room, but what do I really have to say? What am I really talking about? Is what I'm talking about, like, interesting enough to you for us to have a dialogue, So you have to, encompass something, when you first meet a person, to draw that out, especially when you're trying to do business with them and just have a rapport, And that's just on, that.
It's important. It's important to be heard.
Mm-hmm.
And I love my clients. Larry's been a friend for God knows how long. I'm actually helping him with this wonderful, beautiful charity that happens on the 13th out in Florida, June 13th.
Okay, coming up.
Sending 4 underprivileged children to college to get their degree, and it's a golf outing that we help package together, and then we're getting ready to go on tour with the Top Queens. You will love. It is an all-female band from Argentinian that, oh my gosh, they are incredible. But Larry deserves his 15 minutes of fame. He's been the voice of Tower of Power for 14 years. He was the front man. He was with the Temps for 6 years, and it's time for him to shine. It's his time. And we're getting ready. I mean, we're almost close to putting the whole tour together. I'm hoping by the second week of July, we'll have our complete schedule and be out there. But he's real. I mean, and you got to understand something. These guests, these clients, they're not clients. They're family. When they come, they don't stay at hotels and stuff. They stay at my house.
Yeah.
We have breakfast together. We drink coffee. We tease each other. We're family.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I've always have had a great rapport with the clients that I do have. Is we build a friendship, and from there we build a bond that's trustworthy, and then we become family. And a couple years ago when we were pitching a show, which ICE is starring in Equal Standards, which is phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
I was there for the beginning of that journey, and Taheem, he deserves everything that's happening great to him. What an incredible journey. But I remember hooking up with ICE for that pitch at CBS, and it was Chanel's birthday, like just a day or two.
Okay.
I'm like, what the hell do you get somebody that has everything? So Tops and the Temps got into a room together, and we cut a track, and it was dedicated. It's Chanel's song, and we were playing it. I gave it to ICE when we were traveling to the pitch meeting to CBS, and he was like, I've never seen him emotional.
Oh wow.
And he was like, I can't believe you did this. I'm like, I don't know what else to get you. I says, and it's music.
Right.
I go, it's from my heart. I go, that's all I could tell you. I love your daughter. I probably was one of the first people to ever get a picture of when she came out, him holding her in the hospital. So I think of that, like, that's like my family, Chanel's family. So I did something that I felt like no one else would do. Everybody's given a gift.
Mm-hmm.
What do you give a world-renowned artist? Give him something that he's going to appreciate. Give him music. And he's family. That's all I can say. He's a wonderful man, very generous. Him and Coco. They're very, very generous people.
Well, I mean, and that's what it sounds like, man. Like, it's like the adoration of, like, things, you know what I'm saying? Because that's much more than love. Like, it's like the adoration. Like, look, we're family, and like, look, this is from the most genuine place of, myself. So creative. That's one of the words I use to describe you. So pretty much that's what you did. You took that, created that, gave it to them as a token of your, like, you know, influence, man, and hometown. You know, like all these words I'm saying to you, these are the words I use to describe you, you know. So I'm just gonna let my viewers know, you know, Michael and I didn't meet any other time before today. So the words that I'm using, these are just the words that I picked.
Yeah, but we're friends now.
Yeah. Oh, no. We're family, okay, because we're Chicago guys.
Hey,
okay?
we're Chi-Town boys.
Right.
So you can take that away.
Don't get it twisted. Look here, man. If people want to get in contact with you, because I know you, look, heavy hitter, y'all. Heavy hitter. All right. But if people want to get in contact with you, how can people get in contact with you? Social media, websites, what have you?
Probably the best thing is to go to our studio website, which is amastudios.pro. That's and there's a spot where you can load up and send a message. It'll go directly to me. And, you know, or they could go to IMDb Pro.
Okay.
And they could find out my contact information. But, you know, I keep it on the down low as far as I don't go out there soliciting clients and stuff. I'm always willing to listen to what people have to say, and I'm always looking for cool projects to do. We have a phenomenal project we just solidified, Prelude Pictures, starring the incredible Mark Wahlberg.
There's nothing he can't do.
Oh man, park. But I'll let Mark Koch make that public announcement on the whole project. But that is happening. That's literally going into production the first week of September. But yeah, people want to contact me. It's not complicated. I mean, all they got to do really is just go to IMDb Pro. Phone numbers are there, emails are there.
Everything you
need. I'm accessible. I'm not hidden. I just stay low. But I'm a Chi-Town boy. I'm here. I'm not going nowhere.
Hey, look. He and I are gonna have a conversation after this meeting's over with. So I'm just it's gonna be a secret conversation. Y'all can't get in on this one.
You gotta come out to the studio.
Oh no, and see, that's part of the conversation we're gonna be talking about. So look, Mike, we can't tell these people what we gonna be doing now. Come on now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No. That's between you and I. Shh. Okay, all right. Now look. This has been hey, this is really a hometown meeting, man. Like, I've really enjoyed this conversation with you. Like, this is, like, I just feel like, you know, I'm getting a side of things that, you know, I just never really, you know, understood, or, you know, I had my own misconceptions of the industry. You know, living out in Los Angeles for like 2, maybe 2.5 years, and just coming back home, you know, I can attest to some of the things that you're saying, because when I started this platform, which was out in Los Angeles, it was hard, you know, and just creating something and just, you know, getting just guests, you know, people to come on the platform, you know, that was just, you know, difficult in itself at first. But now, you know, hard work or what have you, just keep trudging along.
Now you're rolling.
And now it's just, yeah, okay. Like, now I'm sitting here with the great Micheal Pellegrino, you know what I'm saying?
Oh,
talking business.
Please. Come on.
Hey, no, seriously. I'm telling you, man, look. But no, I've enjoyed this conversation. I've enjoyed all the stories you've been talking about, especially like, you know, your mission and everything that you want to accomplish, especially when it comes to like changing the view, changing the narrative of our, you know, beloved hometown, you know, with your show, and just all the other projects that you're, you know, doing. Just like, for me, the overall word I'm going to use, because still have to ask you this question before I even ask you this question, but the word I will use for you is, you know, I already use creative. I use creative, so I can't use that.
No.
But I just feel like you're like circling in on like culture, almost in a sense, and you're really giving people a true sense of the culture instead of what, you know, mainstream or, you know, whomever wants, you know, to make, you know, Chicago be. So with that being said, I have to ask Mr. Micheal Pellegrino, what is the one word that best describes you and why?
I am persuasive. I am an individual that when I go in and Ty comes to me and says, hey, I want this show nationally syndicated.
Yes.
All right, let's go do it. I'm persuasive. I'm the guy that's going to sit in the room and I'm not going to take no for an answer. And if they do say no, that's fine. We'll just go across the street to the next one. And then we'll go to the next one. And then somebody's going to say yes. And the ones that said no, they're going to be waiting for their box to be packed up because they missed up on this great guy. They missed on a great opportunity, a great show. But I'm persuasive. I don't give up. I'm out there hustling every day like everybody else. And that's the word for me, is persuasive. And I'm a disruptor. I love to disrupt.
Okay, can I just say, all right, this is why this is so beautiful, because people are probably hearing these words like disrupt, like, oh my God, disrupt. No, let me just break it down for you, because as I always mention, there's a science to everything. There's a science to disruption. So don't look at it as a negative.
No.
It's a positive. When you like upset the setup, see what I did there? Upset the setup. See, when you upset the setup and you know you shake things up, now everything looks okay. Well, wow, I thought it looked like this, but it really looks like that. That's what it really is. Yes, that's what it is, because I've disrupted your view.
That's right.
So long you thought that it was this way, but now,
You have to be that way. You're a disruptor. You bring out. You're a great host. You bring out, and it's true though. You're a disruptor in your own field. You're disrupting people that are trying to do what you're doing, but you're succeeding at it because you're disrupting the market by getting certain guests that, and you flush out, you got great, you did your research, you got great questions, you're getting honest answers out of people. I've watched a lot of your interviews. I love them. And to me, that's a disruptor, because you're changing the game. When you change the game, you're a disruptor. And that's an awesome thing to be. Mm-hmm. And if somebody thinks that's negative, man, they need to get a new dictionary, because they have no clue. That's all I got to say.
Well, yeah, I mean, but you know what? It takes culture to have that, so boom, once again, I found a way to get that in there. I'm going to find a way to get that word in. Okay. So, look, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Word with Ty Brownlow. I've been your host, Ty Brownlow. Remember, no one is worthless. No story is worthless. You can follow me on all social media platforms at Word with Ty Brownlow. Or you can just go to my website, tybrownlow.com. Get this wonderful interview, plus other great interviews. Mr. Micheal Pellegrino, I thank you for being my guest today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure. God bless. And I look forward to seeing more of you.
That's right. All right. We out, people. Peace.